Hello, dear friends. The English language is full of colourful slang words that range from the inventive to the peculiar. Today, I very much look forward to taking you through an A to Z primer of English slang words. And at the end, we'll go through some examples of Cockney Rhyming slang, a very particular type of slang from the East End of London. Without much further ado, let's start with a load of tosh. It's something that's used to describe something that isn't very good. I saw that new film last night and it was a load of old tosh. The bee's knees. It isn't related to bees or knees, it's basically an idiom for excellent. It became popular in the 1920s along with the term the cat's whiskers. So something is brilliant. I saw that film last night. It was the bee's knees. So a contrast to tosh. Brast off. If we're not feeling very happy with something, one particular term is brast off. Not too sure of what the origin of this is. Perhaps the sound of a brass instrument letting off a raspy, loud, angry noise could be synonymous with this term. Bits and bobs. So when you have an odd selection of things and there isn't any coherent pattern or shape to them. So what are we going to have for dinner tonight? There doesn't seem to be anything in the fridge. Well, I'll check the cupboard for any bits and bobs that we have and see what I can put together. I think the term bob and bits, bob used to be, it still is to a degree, used as a term for money. 10 bob would be £10, 10 quid, £10 sterling. So if you had bits and bobs, you had loose change in your pocket. Talking of Bob, Bob's your uncle. The original saying meant that you could achieve anything if you knew the right people, if you had the right connections, not what you know but who you know. Bob's your uncle and Fanny's your aunt would mean that, you're alright, you're set up in your career because Bob's your uncle, you know what I mean. Nowadays it's usually used as a way of saying something's alright or okay. Are you going to be able to finish this project on time? Oh, yeah, no problem at all. Bob's your uncle. Cheesed off. We use this term if you're unhappy. Of course, you'd be unhappy if the cheese you were about to enjoy was off and wouldn't be very pleasant. I was really cheesed off that you decided to go to that party without me. A chinwag. It's a long old conversation that I think originally comes from the Welsh language. So that it's I think if you look it up, there's a pub in North Wales. The landlady would ensure people drunk more than they intended by going around with a jug of ale and topping up people's glasses by saying Chinwag, which is Welsh for your cup is empty. Chinwag, Chinwag, Chinwag. I'm not going to teach your grandmother how to suck eggs. So don't teach your grandmother to suck eggs is a very strange saying to me. But it basically means I don't want to teach you something that you'd already know. So if you were teaching somebody how to use a new computer system, but you're familiar that they may have somebody who looks very busy and does a lot but actually produces very little, then you're a bit of a faffer and you're faffing around. Look, Michael, can you stop faffing around and get that report to me by end of day, please? Grub is a slang word for food. It actually comes from an Old English word meaning dig. So you can see how digging for, say, potatoes or vegetables would relate into food. Got some good grub, good stuff produced from the ground. Gobby is used to describe someone who talks a lot. We quite often use it to people who talk a lot and don't say a lot, if you know what I mean, or they've got a lot of opinions that are forcibly entered into the conversation. They're a bit gobby. Hammered is quite a universal slang word. It's not uniquely English, but of course described to say that somebody is very drunk. Oh, they've got hammered, or are you getting hammered? Horses for courses. A little bit of rhyming slang there, a popular saying that means that everybody's got different tastes. What's right for one person isn't necessarily right for someone else, so a little bit like different strokes for different folks. Horses for courses is the same thing. Hunky Dory. I think a term like Hunky Dory is very quintessentially English. Basically means everything's fine. Is everything alright back there? Yep, it's all hunky dory. I've come over all peculiar. Is in itself a bit of a peculiar saying used to describe someone who feels very unwell very quickly. Somebody's about to give a presentation. They start feeling all faint all of a sudden. Oh, I've come over all peculiar. It's brass monkeys outside. I think this is one of the strangest ones. When you try to look it up, you can't quite often find a consensus. It's basically used when it's really, really cold outside. You get in from a freezing cold day and you say, oh, it's brass monkeys outside. I think the origins are something to do with brass handles on the doors, which get very cold. But why it relates to monkeys is a bit strange. Jammy. If you're quite lucky, or you get away with something in quite a lucky or a fluky fashion, you're quite jammy. Oh, you jammy sod, how did you get away with that one? Gym jams is slang for pyjamas. I'm gonna get home, gonna kick off my shoes, get into my gym jams, curl up on the sofa and watch the telly. A jar is a slang term for a pint of beer. I don't think you hear it that often these days, but maybe it's just because I don't use the term. Let's catch up after work. Review jars would mean a few pints of beer, but in English drinking culture usually a few equals a lot. Jiffy, very British saying. I'll be there in a jiffy. Basically means you're going to be there immediately or very quickly. Oh, you're cooking a roast dinner, aren't you? I'll be over in a jiffy. I'll be there very, very quickly. A knees up. If somebody said they had a right old knees up over the weekend, it means they were talking about a big old party. You may be familiar with the song Knees Up Mother Brown. I suppose the term knees up might come from drinking so much that you fall off your chair perhaps and your knees go up. I'm not sure. A kerfuffle, a very English slang word there, is a fuss or a commotion. You hear somebody having an argument in a back room. What's all this kerfuffle? Keep your hair on. I suppose linking to the fact that if you're angry or enraged, you might pull your hair out in frustration. So, to keep somebody calm, we say, keep your hair on. It's not that bad. when somebody's ill in a contagious way. Somebody has the flu or something like that. Oh, don't come over, I've got the lurgy. I remember quite often using it in school. You'd play a game like tag or it, and then somebody has got the lurgy, and they'd catch you and give it to you as a game. Lairy means somebody who's quite loud or brash, and quite often it links to drinking as well. Somebody, after a few drinks, they get a bit Lairy. Leave it out. Doesn't quite make sense in my accent. Leave it out means you want somebody to stop doing or saying something that you find upsetting or annoying. Somebody keeps nudging you. Leave it out. Leave it out. Get off. Minted. If somebody's described as minted, it means they're rich. Oh God. You met Jeff, he's minted. Mitts. Mitten is obviously a kind of glove, but it's a term for hands. Keep your grubby mitts off my pie. Mind your P's and Q's. Means to be on your best behaviour. So you're going to meet my parents, Jessica, and they're very proper, they're very old school, so make sure you mind your P's and Q's. I think it relates to talking in a very proper, correct way. Miffed is basically another way of saying that you're a bit annoyed or confused. I'm quite miffed that you didn't invite me to that lunch do. Not my cup of tea is used when something isn't to your liking, so Jeff likes pop music, but it's generally not my cup of tea. A numpty, a fun word to say. If somebody does something a bit silly or wrong, quite often it's used as a kind of banter or humorous insult. You numpty, you've put your jacket on back to front. Naff is a term used to describe something that's a bit rubbish, a bit out of date, a bit unfashionable. Well, the decor in here is a bit naff, isn't it? Nosh is another slang word for food. Let's get some nosh before we go in, shall we? Old chestnut. Again, doesn't sound quite right in this accent. Old chestnut. If you tell something quite regularly or you're repeating yourself, it's often referred to as that old chestnut, or if a friend of yours is bringing up a story or a joke they've told a million times, oh, that old chestnut. On the lash is to drink excessive amounts of alcohol, and unfortunately something quite synonymous with English social culture is drinking culture. So you may hear people at the end of the week saying they're going to go on the lash tonight. Oh my giddy aunt is effectively another statement for something like oh my god or oh my gosh. It's used to show shock or surprise. Oh my giddy aunt, you scared the life out of me. Ream is something that's nice, good, cool, or whatever. It originates from Essex, so if anyone who is familiar with the show The Only Way is Essex will be familiar with the term ream. Oh, that's ream. Rank is for something that's horrible. Or something smells really bad. Oh, what does that smell? It's rank in here. Rinsed. Has multiple meanings, actually. I think it's quite often used when, for example, if you beat somebody decisively. If I play you in tennis or chess or something, and I am the clear victor. Oh man, I rinsed Sarah at chess. Or it could mean that you're also being ripped off. So if I've overpaid for a table, somebody's got the same table for much less, oh man, you got rinsed. Skive. To skive off is to bunk off, to take a day off, or to play truant. I'm going to skive off work, or I'm going to skive off a lecture, or I'm going to skive off school. Shirty is a term used to describe people who are short-tempered or ill-tempered. Oh, they're getting a bit shirty, aren't they? Stitched up is when somebody's taken advantage of you. So, you're in a group, and you need to give a presentation, and then everyone steps back and makes you do the presentation yourself. I've been stitched up here. Shagged can have some rude connotations, but often its most common use is when you're really tired. I'm proper shagged. Need a kip. Tickedy Boo means okay, basically. Everything's tickedy boo. I think some of the best slang words are words associated with just being okay. Everything's hunky dory, tickedy boo. It's like kind of Charles Dickens, Mary Poppins, like chimney sweep language. I love it. The Offie. If you hear somebody talking about going to the Offie, they're talking about going to the off license. So the equivalent of any convenience store somewhere else that sells alcohol. Trundle is to move very slowly and clumsily and sometimes annoyingly, just trundling along. I was stuck behind somebody just trundling along. I couldn't get past them. Umpteen is a kind of general term used to something that's a lot but without a specific number. And you quite often bust it out when you're feeling quite annoyed with somebody, like for the umpteenth time. No, I'm not going to do that. Up the spout is basically whenever you've wasted something like money, you know, well, that's £50 up the spout. So it's a bit similar to down the drain, right? All plumbing related terms. Under the cosh is when you feel pressured or restricted. So, you're really under the cosh to deliver this in time. Wangle means to do something that's a bit tricky, slippery, or a bit devious. You know, if I got away with that. I wangled a deadline on my project. I said that I had to take my cat to the vet because they're really ill. You what? It's obviously something that a lot of people are quite familiar with. I know there are a lot of British memes online with "you what, mate." But basically, it's like a reactionary term. If you don't understand what's been said, you what? And zonked is when somebody is very, very tired, very, very tired, or they might be asleep already. They're zonked out. Some brief examples of Cockney Rhyming slang as well. The term Cockney is usually given to somebody in its purest definition, somebody born within the sound of the Bow bells. Bow is an area of East London near Whitechapel, and if you were born, for example, in the Royal London Hospital in Whitechapel, technically you're a Cockney because you're born within the radius of the sound of the Bow bells. So, typically Cockney is that, alright governor, you're right, that kind of Oliver Twist style, East London, Barrow Boy type of accent, and Cockney Rhyming slang is its own form of code, where rhyming phrases replace words or phrases. So, some examples of that are Adam and Eve, which is rhyming slang for believe. Can you Adam and Eve it? He's only gone and done it. Apples and pears mean stairs. You just gotta go up there, take the apple and pears to the toilet, and I'll see you down here. Butcher's hook means take a look. Have a butcher's look at that. Off to Bedfordshire. Not necessarily just Cockney actually, but when somebody's tired and wants to go to bed. I'm off to Bedfordshire, which is actually where I was born and raised, but didn't mean I was asleep permanently. Or you could say Uncle Ned. I'm going to hit the Uncle Ned. I'm going to go Uncle Ned. Tell him Porkie Pies. Tell him Porkies. Porkie Pies is lies. I don't believe you. You're telling Porkies. You're telling Porkie Pies. Quasimodo. Rhyming slang for soda water. Queen Mum is slang for your backside. Oh, I really am a Queen Mum. Queen of the South, or Queen of the South, is Cockney Rhyming slang for your mouth. And Rosie Lee, Cockney Rhyming slang for a cup of tea. Rosie Lee. They're fun to learn, but I wouldn't necessarily add those to your phrase book if you were going to visit England for the first time. People would look at you very strangely. If you were to say, oh, I'll park me Queen Mum if you get me a Rosie Lee from a Queen of the South, people would look at you in a very confused way. So I hope you've enjoyed today's